Senator Berth and members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to testify and represent IAVA's 200,000 members and supporters on the President's fiscal year 2013 budget request. My name is Tom Tarantino, and I'm the Deputy Policy Director for IAVA. I proudly served 10 years in the Army, beginning my career as an enlisted reservist and ending service as an active duty cavalry officer. Although my uniform is now a suit and tie, I'm proud to work with this Congress to have the backs of America's service members and veterans. While IAVA is pleased with the administration's recognition that the VA needs increased resources to adequately care for veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan, we believe that VA health care must be fully funded to the level recommended in the 2013 independent budget. Even though the proposed VA budget does show a 4.5% increase over 2012, it is still more than $4 billion less than what the independent budget recommends. I'm also deeply concerned that Congress has not passed a regular budget in what actually is years. Fortunately, Congress has maintained VA funding both current and in advance in the various continuing resolutions and ad hoc appropriations bills. However, we are concerned that if this irregular budgeting process continues, then the security that advanced funding is meant to provide for the VA health care may erode. When political concerns and dangerous brinksmanship threaten VA, it's the veterans and service members who can least afford to bear the burden that get the impact. We are at a critical juncture for both service members and veterans. As the Department of Defense budget shrinks, it threatens the earned benefits like retirement and health and TRICARE, and the active duty and reserve component is planning to shed over 90,000 active duty service members over the next few years. The workload on the VA system is only going to increase. So failing to fully fund the VA or appropriate the budget in advance will inflict pain and hardship on thousands of veterans. Among the most useful programs administered by the VA are its educational programs. More than 700,000 veterans and their family members have used the post-9/11 GI Bill to further their education, increase their job skills, and secure employability. One of the single greatest threats to the success of the future of the GI Bill is the lack of useful metrics and subsequent inability of the VA and state approving agencies to prevent fraud, particularly in the realm of for-profit schools. IAVA recognizes that the majority of for-profit schools are honest actors and that they provide an invaluable resource for many military members and veterans who do not need or wish to pursue a traditional education. However, as pointed out in the independent budget, many for-profit schools are simply just not holding up their end. For example, for-profit schools receive more than a third of GI Bill funds while accounting for less than a third of GI Bill graduates. It does not appear that we are giving veterans the tools they need to make sound educational choices. IAVA recommends a three-pronged approach that is necessary to solve this problem. First, we must collect useful data on both student and institutional success. Without mandatory, uniform data collection across the board, private, public, profit, not-for-profit, we will never be able to give students the tools to make the educational choices that meet their needs. We also need a clear, comprehensible, and easily accessible consumer education for veterans. Having data on schools is useless unless we can present it to students in a manner that they can digest. This should include both online methods of comparing schools as well as a commitment to increase in educational counseling for veterans. And finally, we have to ensure that the free and open market can weed out poorly performing schools by changing the 90-10 rule to include and classify DoD and VA benefits as government funds, because they are. All of this must be executed with one goal in mind, and that is to preserve the GI Bill. Preserving the integrity of the GI Bill should be a top priority for every lawmaker on Capitol Hill. The benefit not only provides upward economic mobility for individuals who participate, but it benefits their entire community as a nation and the nation as a whole in the long run. Like the post-World War, like the post-9/11 GI Bill, the original World War II GI Bill returned $7 in taxes and economic output for every dollar that was spent on the program. Like then, the post-9/11 GI Bill is currently threatened by schools that, for their whole existence, is separating veterans from their hard-earned benefits. America's newest veterans also face a tough economy and serious employment challenges. In 2011, the average unemployment rate for Iraq and Afghanistan veterans was 12.1%. Congress took bold action last year in passing the Vow to Hire Heroes Act, and we thank this body for their work. This year, IAVA stands ready to help implement this law so that veterans can get back to work. But we also hope that Congress will continue to focus on the veterans who do not choose to go in the workforce, but choose to go directly to school so that they can get the job training that they need. I thank you for your time and attention.
Mr. Tarantino, thank you. And Tom.
Senator, we're alarmed about the lack of clarity with the high suicide rate among veterans. We do a pretty good job of tracking the active duty, but we really don't have any clear idea of the suicide epidemic in the veterans population. The VA does a good job or a decent job of tracking veterans within their system, but in terms of OAF, OEF vets, that's just over half, which means around half of Iraq and Afghanistan veterans never set foot in a VA hospital. And we have no idea what's happening out in that population. And so when we're looking at the budget and increases to mental health and sort of this shotgun approach to suicide prevention and mental health, where we're trying to develop programs with awareness, but we're not doing it in a targeted fashion. It's one thing to increase awareness and about stigma and have suicide prevention campaigns, but if you don't know where are the problem areas, what are the methodologies, and what type of issues are those service members facing, then you're basically crawling around in the dark. And so what we are proposing that we need to have a national effort to track veteran suicide in all 50 states. There is a couple ways to do it. I'm happy to talk about it with you offline. But until we do that, we're never going to get our hand around this issue, and we're never going to solve this problem.